If you're watching on the YouTube app, please hit that hype button right now to support the show and help us find new Arsenal fans just like you. It really helps us and we really appreciate your support. Now listen, we remain 5 points clear at the top of the table, even if the lads made hard work of it. I'm relieved. How are you?
I was telling Jim earlier, I wasn't as nervy watching it at home. I know you used to, we were both at the game. It didn't feel that nervy. Other than that disallowed goal, I was fine. But after listening to everyone else and the criticism that we've got for our style of play once again, and thinking about Brighton on Wednesday, I'm starting to feel what the running's going to be like. And this is going to be painful.
10 weeks of
And
hell.
it's not been a picnic up to now,
No,
is
it
it?
hasn't.
It's going to get worse.
No, I'm trying to mentally prepare because this is going to get grueling. It's going to get grueling.
One of the things I wanted to talk about today, though, was the atmosphere at the Emirates last night, because I did feel like it was better. As I've been sort of concerned that sort of like, oh, we need to get behind the team, or sort of, you know, like those times when like Liverpool turned up and like they're having the flares outside the stadium and all the fans, and surely that helps a player, even if it's just a small percentage. And I felt like the Emirates has been a bit nervy and has felt a little bit difficult to get the songs going, where I felt like yesterday was a lot better. I felt like even at 1-1, actually just before the goal, Timber's goal in the 66th minute, we were singing, and it felt like maybe that helped a little bit. What do you think, Jim?
I think that you're absolutely right. And I think it was as a result of the confidence that the fans took into the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like after the North London derby, everyone was feeling positive and happy again. And this was a game that had disaster written all over it from one perspective. And it felt like nobody was really considering that angle. It felt like people were confident we were going to go and win, even when we equalised. Oh, sorry, even when Chelsea equalised, rather, because it's just before half time, you don't then get that kind of flat period of frustration because you go straight into to the break. And yeah, I think there was always a belief we could get back into it, and I think that means the baseline volume of the atmosphere is just louder, right? I think you're right. I think there was obviously those nervy moments right at the kind of very end of the game where it seemed like we were doing everything we could to like give them an opportunity. But I think that that's on the players, isn't it?
I think the thing is that there's no easy titles, especially your first one after a long time. And I just can't remember, like, you know, when it was like 2002, so we hadn't won it for 4 years. I mean, I was only like 15 or 14. So but I was trying to think back, and I mentioned this in our group. Like, I was trying to think back, like, did we have matches like this? And I had a little look back, and there was a 1-1 with Southampton where Tessum scored in the quite towards the end, and it felt like then we went on a run, and it was all sort of like there were narrow victories, but it sort of felt like there was that 2-1 against Villa when Perez scored that goal over Schmeichel. Like it felt like we were in control of games and playing well. When that just doesn't feel like it's like that, Johnny.
You say that, but there was a week, I read is it Amy Lawrence? I read her book on the Invincibles, which was brilliant. And I remember reading this, and I remember the time, but then reading it again really sort of brought into focus. There was a week where we had the FA Cup game against United, which we then lost. We went out of the FA Cup. Yeah. We then lost to Chelsea in the Champions League. And then we had Liverpool on the Saturday where we went a goal down at home and we had the Invincible. We were about to lose everything, and then Henry comes out second half and does what he does.
Carragher on his arse.
Yes.
Yeah, it was that game.
Like,
wasn't
this happens. No matter how good a team you are, even on the last day of the season, we went 1-0 down. Remember, we're going for the Invincibles, unbeaten all season.
Yeah.
Leicester.
Frank Sinclair, was it?
No.
Frank Sinclair,
no, it wasn't.
No, it was a Scottish.
Paul
Dickoff.
Ex-Arsenal.
Wow, of course.
Come on
Dickoff.
now.
Yes.
I remember that and thinking, Jesus Christ, we've got 37 games through and Paul Dickoff has scored against us at Highbury. This happens. It's going to be hard. It is going to be very, very difficult these next 9 games. I was even saying this is crazy. This is a very hot take, probably get taken out. But we might have to sacrifice the FA Cup. In terms of just, and it sounds mad.
Good luck to you, Mansfield. You're going to win it.
I would take that if you offered it to me.
Yes, because the league is, let's all be real, the league is a priority this season. We've got 9 games and it's going to be, I'm bright. It's going to be hell.
When you say sacrifice, you don't mean like take a chainsaw to it.
Or pull out of it like Man United.
Yeah, whatever it takes. But no, hopefully we don't have to do that. But it's good. There's 20 games and there's 10 weeks, basically. If we get to where we want to get to in all of these competitions, it's a game. Yeah. It's two games a week now for the next 10 weeks. So
and also that the unbeaten season. 2-1 was the scoreline so often, wasn't it? Whether we came from behind or went 2-0 up and kind of wobbled a bit. Like, I because you're right. I was thinking about this, and I was like, there are games I remember that we would just coast through them, and you'd be really confident we were going to win, but. Then it must have felt like this sometimes. It just must have.
Really?
We only scored. I think we only scored 73 goals in the 03-04 season. We didn't score many goals. Like, it was tight. These games were tight.
Yeah.
I mean, if I remembered that, I'm seriously unwell. By the way. Oh my god!
Oh, look, we're getting a thumbs up from Finn. You were right.
Yeah, but
go on, Johnny.
Yeah, look, like it's. On to Brighton.
But you know what? I was thinking about what Laura had said about the Tottenham game, where she just sort of went for a walk with her dog.
Yeah.
Like for the last 20 minutes. I was sat in the ground going, could I go for a walk with Laura's dog? Because I sort of went into a weird sort of Zen silence where I just leant forward and I just sat there in silence. And like Anil, who sits next to me, like he would sort of just be like, he'd like now and again sort of grab me and go, why are we doing this to ourselves?
Yeah.
And it sort of wouldn't move me. You know, like there's like those scenes in like in series where it's just like you can't hear the noise, and then suddenly everything comes back into focus. Like it was a bit like that. And when the Delap goal went in, even though it was offside, for a moment I was like,
yeah,
obviously.
From where you're sat, that would not have been clear, would it?
No, I was like, obviously.
Yeah.
And I'd had my Snickers from Annie in front of me. Oh, actually, I went for a chocolate orange this week.
Oh, chocolate orange?
Yeah.
Like chocolate orange, but right, I was going to say, that is...
A chocolate orange bar.
Yeah,
nice.
You weren't desegmentising.
I was doing a bit of desegmentising, and I was watching. I went, yeah, that's got. And so thank the Lord it didn't. But I would like. There was part of me because I remember Clive Palmer. Clive Palmer from Arsenal Vision. He talked about like walking around the concourse at times when he couldn't handle it. I was like, I can't just get up and go downstairs and walk around the concourse, can I?
Well, they have stopped showing games on the screens at half time. Sorry, in the second half, because presumably so many people were doing that.
I'll be honest, I'm not going to say who it is. I know a lot of people that go and have cheeky snouts on the concourse and watch it. The last season, the Bournemouth, remember the Bournemouth game with the Reece Nelson?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got some great pictures of people that were just like, had gone out into the concourse and were just openly smoking.
They missed the goal.
This is too stressful.
Did they miss the goal?
No, they watched it on the screen, but they didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, there is a sense, isn't there, that like we keep having these periods in games where the players suddenly look like they've never met each other before.
Yeah.
And it might only be 5 minutes, but I keep thinking ahead to this game at the Etihad. Because if you have a period like that, they will punish it. They're really, really clinical in those moments if teams lose their shape a little bit. And I think we're kind of coming out of that period where, we were dropping too many points and the Wolves game was obviously the nadir of that. But we've still got some work to do in terms of making ourselves our best selves. We have to be in that form when we go to Man City. Yeah. And there's still more work to do to address that.
Touches from this weekend. We were playing against 10 men for 20 minutes as well. Zubimendi 34, Rice 57, Eze 33. In the Man City game, when they went to Ellen Road and won 1-0, Rodri 142, Silva 93, Shirky 104. So in terms of us being able to control these games and see them out and not give away those equalisers like we did at Wolves and like we've done earlier on in the season, there's something amiss here, and it's purely psychological. I don't actually blame Mikel, even though the pragmatism comes from. There's something about Mikel where he doesn't like making the same mistake twice. So if you notice, I don't think, kind of touch wood, we're not going to concede another goal from a throw-in this season. He will not let that happen. There's certain things, we are so anti-transition in the way we set up. That goes right back to the 22-23 season and what City did to us, I think, at the Etihad when we were in the right. There's certain things he doesn't like, but at the same time, he doesn't set the players up like this. And something seeps into the players where we don't like keeping the ball. Odegaard, missing doesn't help because he's someone who likes to field the ball, and I've said this on a million occasions, But there is something amiss with how we're seeing out games in the fact that we can't put our foot on the ball and keep it. And we're going to have to change that. That's going to have to be addressed before the end of the season.
Because it wasn't happening in the first half of the season. You know, we were seeing games out. It would get to 2-1 or 1-0 and we would feel quite relaxed because and everyone keeps talking about, you know, Arsenal's so robust. Arsenal got such a solid defence. But it doesn't feel like that now. And it feels like other teams know that we are, this isn't a real word, but get-atable. Because it feels like...
Well, it encourages it, doesn't it?
It encourages it. You know, Wolves managed it, even Tottenham. And the same with this game yesterday. We went to 10 men and in the first half, like, our press was really effective. You know, Cole Palmer, even though he didn't have his best game, like he was Chelsea's only outlet. But in the second half, we stopped pressing. And even when they had an extra man, you were watching it going, why can't we get on the ball? Why can't we create a chance?
Is part of that just the legs required to press like that for a whole game?
Yeah.
That's got to be really, really difficult, right? For me, I think, I wonder, is it Rice going off? I think when Rice went off, and obviously it looked like he had a little bit of a knock, that kind of lost that element of control that you get in the midfield from him being able to just pop up absolutely anywhere and put a fire out. I think Norgard, Zubimendi and Eze, that's bound to be the first time they've featured together, I think, or if it's not the first, they can't have played many minutes together. That looked really disjointed to me. And I wonder if that was just a lack of kind of them being comfortable as a trio. It felt like something was really, really amiss in how we were approaching the end of that game.
Yeah, I felt as well. I haven't seen much of a connection. A lot of people say that when Gyökeres comes off, we sort of then start to invite more pressure on. But I've not seen, and Eze was playing in his Merson role yesterday off of Gyökeres, I've not seen a connection between them two. Not like I've seen with Havertz and Gyökeres. I've not seen that dynamic develop. Maybe it's not been given a chance to develop. But yeah, there is a lot of question marks about the connection between certain players in our front six. And I'll keep going back to it. Odegaard sort of makes up for that because he will go and connect the dots between players where we haven't got it. And I feel like when you're sort of trying to protect a lead, you need those dynamics. You need someone, I think, I pass to him. I'm used to playing with him. He'll get the ball back to me. He's a safe pair of hands. I pass it to him. I don't think there's a lot of that at the moment.
I think as well, like, even in the Premier League in general, we're not having these midfielders control games like we used to. You know, in the last 10 years ago, I was listening to The Rest is Football, and they were sort of talking about their stats from 10 years ago where, you know, it was Cazorla, it was Fabregas, it was Yaya Toure, like people controlling games from the midfield, where now it's all defenders. Yeah. It's Van Dijk, it's Saliba, it's Gabriel, and where we should feel really comfortable. And I think this does feed into your point about when Rice comes off, you don't have that solid outlet to then control a game. But it also just feels like we can't complete a pass or stay in control. And I know that that's psychological, but that worries me with 9 games to go because it feels like we're getting away with it.
That's exactly the phrase I've been thinking about. We keep kind of getting away with these moments where we kind of look like our own worst enemy a bit. And again, like that has to be rectified. If we're gonna go all the way in this league, it could come down to that game at the Etihad. It could be as clear cut as that. I hope we get the opportunity to make that game irrelevant, but it's very likely we're going to need to go there and win. And yeah, I mean, we have to go in an upward trajectory of form across departments for that. I suppose this is an example of us managing to do that. That's the funny thing. There's, for all the kind of nervous points we've made and all the worrisome things we've identified, I think there's also a lot of really positive talking points. Like, you know, we've not scored a goal from a set piece for a while. I think it was the Leeds game that Nonu Madueke scored from that corner. And they were 2 brilliant goals, 2 absolutely vintage kind of Arsenal in 2026 corners. And it's so easy to imagine games throughout the season in which we didn't have this sort of set piece prowess, where we're just leaving points all over the place. And obviously we get criticised for it, and that's always going to happen from outside, and it doesn't matter. But having this kind of superpower of being able to rely on those set piece goals when you need to I just don't think it can be understated. That's won us the game there. That's stopped that being an absolute disaster.
These 2 goals were our 15th and 16th goal from corners this season, which equals the Premier League record. We've opened the scoring from a corner in 9 Premier League matches, but we've also scored 9 match winners from corners, which is a new Premier League record.
Yes, we've had to find ways of breaking down the low block, and we found a way. This is our weapon against the low block. that's how, if teams want to set up like that, then this is how we're going to have to win games.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm quite proud of it still.
This did really feel like, and I've heard other people say it, a bit like an NFL game, where it was literally just like tactical set pieces, because Chelsea were really good from corners as well. And interestingly, you saw how Brentford got at us from corners. There was a lot of grappling, and from the Arsenal players on when we were defending a corner. And I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal, the first team to concede a penalty, from watching the way we were holding on to people. Like, I feel like that is close to a penalty. I don't know what you think, Johnny.
I think everyone's doing it. The problem is that because we're scoring from these corners, we're under the microscope.
They're going to make an example of Arsenal, aren't they?
We're top of the league. We're scoring from the corners, so we're watching. Everyone's watching our corners, and also everyone's analysing them because everyone wants to catch up. And Chelsea did quite well at that yesterday. So I feel as though everyone's at it. Everyone's looking for them small percentages to get an advantage.
And it is a league-wide trend as well. Sort of goals from set pieces are up across the board, and it's obviously been identified as like a sort of undervalued area in terms of, you know, how much it can be beneficial to you. And it's really a game within a game, isn't it? And it's not often been viewed like that. Maybe that's just my own personal perception of it, but I think this is probably here to stay for a good while yet, because, you know, it essentially it's a separate issue from how you play in open play, right? If you treat it like that, and if you can be as effective from it as we are, and as Liverpool have become, and you know, Chelsea are obviously doing quite well at it themselves as well, then that it's all upside to you, isn't it? It's all upside on the holding. I think. We in terms of the first one, I think we probably got away with one a little bit with Rice. They then score from the corner that conceded anyway, so that doesn't really affect the pattern of the game, you would think. And what do you think about the one where it was Saliba holding João Pedro? Because he does have his arms around him. He kind of gets away from him fairly quickly. It is one of those ones, just like, yeah, I mean, if that happened against you, you'd probably want it.
Or if that happened, say it was a free kick, right? And the ball gets crossed in. And as it's crossed in, someone is holding on to Gabriel and brings him down like a rugby tackle.
Yeah.
You'd want a penalty for that.
And in open play, which it essentially becomes, if someone is physically restraining a player, then it's obviously a foul, isn't it? It feels really risky to me.
I think it's coming.
To do that.
It is. I mean, that is the point you just made there. There's a whole series of incidents before the whistle's blown, and then once it's blown, something changes. I feel as though sometimes the foul starts before and it ends up being, but normally the referee will sort of stop a free kick or a corner being taken before it actually happens. And I think the players are in tune to know that if they're doing anything beforehand, that they sort of ease off a little bit as the whistle's blown. And that's where it's hard to judge. So that's where it's a bit of a grey area in terms of being able to give a penalty, because when does the foul start? If the foul start before the whistle, then it's not in play.
Yeah.
So again, it's those margins, isn't it?
Very small margins.
And during Timber's winner, we were obviously delighted. Not everyone was delighted, because I don't know if you've seen this clip where, like, Timber goes off to celebrate, and then there's a ball boy in the background who's absolutely livid.
Yeah,
have you seen this, Jim?
It's because I think it's Timber, certainly an Arsenal player, boots the ball.
Saliba does, I think.
Right, it's Saliba boots the ball off of the ball boy's little
cone.
Yeah, and the look on the ball boy's face is amazing. It's like, I'm going to go and get that, am I? Brilliant. Yeah,
like
I don't come to your job and ruin it. It's amazing.
He sort of was, the kids were about 8, and he had the attitude of me, who's 38, who's just like, brilliant, I'll be cleaning up, shall I?
What does that say about the state of the world, that we've got like curmudgeonly 8-year-olds everywhere?
Oh, bless him. I hope he gets a little bit more social media.
Yeah.
Because I want to see his reaction, see how he feels for the next game.
I was just thinking that there was remember the ball boy at Cardiff, or Swansea, sorry, that ended up then owning AU vodka. He ended up being a multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
He was
David
an
Raya.
with Hazard.
I think his dad was quite wealthy.
Okay, his dad was quite wealthy, fair enough. Yeah, there's a whole law about ball boys.
But I get worried because I know what Mikel's like. So if Mikel sees that footage and he thinks that he is not on the fun boat and he thinks he is not enjoying it, because you know what he's like, he wants everyone to enjoy it, he might be out of a job.
Oh, there was a fella who sits near me who gets quite angry quite quickly, who was absolutely screaming at a ball boy for essentially giving the ball back to David Raya too fast. Like, people were starting to get really antsy.
They're getting on at the ball boys. Now, as much as anyone who's listening wouldn't think we are on for the quadruple, it sounded like we're fighting off relegation because we're so worried. But I would like to speak positively about David Raya, who made an incredible save off Garnacho late on. I mean, he made so many good saves in this game.
Yeah.
Arteta said that his heart almost stopped, but David, because it was a ball that sort of came in, it was a free kick, and he waits and waits and waits. I mean, it is such good goalkeeping because he's expecting a touch, but he waits and waits. Last moment, I don't know how he gets to it because he's not like Donnarumma 6'7", and he gets there. Like we've got to give him some flowers.
100%. All this season, he has won us a lot of points, and his ability to anticipate. Because they did a comparison the other day between him and Donnarumma, and the only thing where Donnarumma was ahead of him was shot stopping. But in terms of coming and getting balls, distribution, everything else, his ability to anticipate, he's been streets ahead of everyone, and he has, and that sets a precedent for the rest of the team in terms of us starting attacks quicker. I wish the rest of the team could actually, keep up with him in terms of that respect. But yeah, he sets a precedent, and he's been phenomenal.
How frustrating was it yesterday when on 2 occasions David Raya does exactly that, starts an attack with an amazing throw, and then the referee pulled it back because someone was fouling Raya. Play the advantage.
Minutes,
Play the advantage.
And
that
also,
was infuriating.
or give him the yellow card.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that if they stop it without, and it's like, you get 2 or 3 goes to do it, it shouldn't be. Give him a yellow card, then they'll stop doing it. Because as much as, we created like 0.59 XG from open play.
Yeah.
And we were playing against 10 men. But what I would defend against that is a lot of those times where we're ready to break and you've got players like Martinelli up there and they kept blocking off David Raya. I'll tell you what, someone who has been giving me a lot of confidence, and it's got better and better over the last few weeks, is Piero Hincapie. I think he's played 16 in 17 Premier League. He started 16 and 17 Premier League games since November.
Yeah.
Like you sort of see him as the backup to Calafiori, but I mean, he's sort of the starter now.
Yeah.
And he's been excellent left back, even if he did score the own goal, but we can't blame him for that. It was an excellent ball in. But he's nailed that position down now, really, hasn't he?
At the moment on form, he is... He's in the best back four for sure, and also I think we're starting to see his true qualities now. A lot of which is him bombing forward, and he's obviously very different from Miles Lewis Skelly because Miles Lewis Skelly's strengths are kind of tucking into midfield.
Yeah,
Calafiori does a little bit of that and a little bit of kind of going wide, but Hincapie seems a lot more direct and a lot more of a traditional fullback. And it's nice to see that. He looks like a nightmare to play against. He looks like he is loving life at Arsenal, and it looks like everyone around him really likes him as well, which is obviously key. You need those relationships on the pitch, and I think he's just getting better and better. I think there's a good chance that he will be the nailed-on starter by the end of the season as well.
And we talk a lot about how, in the Arsenal team they haven't got players that have won the league before, but he did 2 years ago in very similar circumstances. In that Leverkusen hadn't won the league for and they had a big juggernaut Bayern Munich coming up behind them, and he was only like 21. And he was a mainstay of that team. Xabi Alonso absolutely loved him. So I wonder if his influence can be sort of vital in this title running.
100%. I think he's very similar to Ben White in the way he plays. He's like on that side. He's that what Ben White used to give us, or still can give us if he's given the opportunity. Yeah, I do feel that running that he had with Leverkusen, he's perfect for what we're about to go through, because they came back. I remember that they used to they'd be losing every game at 90 minutes, and then somehow come and win every single time. There's a resilience that you don't lose that as well. So I think he's going to have that's invaluable experience.
But you, Johnny, but sometimes on this podcast you've had your reservations about Hincapie. Has he changed your mind?
Yes, I think he has. I think he's settled in now. I think the team understands his value, and it's about trust a lot of the time as well. It's not. Sometimes it isn't just about the player. It's about, okay, well, can I trust you? If I play that ball, you're going to do that, run this overlap. Can I trust that you're going to put in a decent cross? He's started putting in better crosses. He's doing his work defensively very, very well. So yeah, I feel like they're understanding what he can bring to the team, and I feel as though he's responded.
That we know that they whenever they're scouting a player, they go and watch them 30, 40 times. They're finding out about their personalities. There's no stone unturned, especially once Arteta has been there. And I was reading this article about how Hincapie in that just after the season where they won the league, his cousin got was kidnapped in Ecuador.
Yeah.
And they didn't find him for like 6 days, and he was right on the border of Ecuador and Colombia, and they wanted something like €1 million. And because they knew he was his cousin was a Premier League footballer, and he had to have handled the entire thing. Like football is nothing to Hincapie. Like he's been through it.
I saw that headline, which was a remarkable bit of editorializing, which was something like, Hincapie won't be fussed about the title race because his cousin was kidnapped, and that's way more intense. It's like, there's a lot of assumptions on your part there. Like,
I've just done that. And I absolutely assume it.
Yeah, well, still, I think like that is a stretch, isn't it, for that journalist to say, I think. Like...
So you're trying to tell me that, like, in the last 5 minutes of the match against Barcelona in the semi-final of the Champions League, he's going to go, pressure? I remember my cousin got kidnapped. This is fine.
This is nothing.
Yeah.
With like a knife between his teeth. Like, it's just...
As he scores the final penalty. Yeah, I think he's going to be fine. He's a remarkable character, and they did a lot of work to get him over here. It looks like... he's definitely going to be, complete his loan, 45 million quid obligation to buy. It's a great deal. But I also think what's been really good is I read in that similar article is that he greeted the twins, the Quintero twins, that came from the same place where he started out his footballing career. And he seems to be a very, very good personality.
Yeah, very much so. And like I said, you can tell that the squad really like him. He's so confident on the pitch as well. The way he's like laughing in players' faces when he wins tackles and things like that. It's the sort of player where I think it won't be long before you get rival fans going, I hate Hincapie. He's such an annoying player.
That's why I was compared him to Ben White, because I remember just before he signed, or earlier when he signed, he was they played Argentina. Ecuador played Argentina, and he got onto Alexis McAllister, and it was hilarious. If you've seen, look it up. That battle they had that day, I was like, this geezer's a maniac, and I'm very happy to have him at my club.
Him and Caicedo yesterday.
Yeah. Yes.
He seemed to really want to get one over on Caicedo.
He pushed him over at one stage. He's just like, he's the captain. Caicedo, the Ecuadorian captain.
Yeah, and they came from the same youth set.
Yeah, same as the Quinteros.
He does have this amazing knack of, like, when the ball is when he's trying to clear the ball but keep it in play. He's so good at that. Like when he's sort of cornered in, there's two players pressing him. He can always manage to keep it in play, which I don't feel like we have any other. Yeah, we just don't feel like we have any other defenders that can do that. So
his mobility is exceptional. I love him already. I think he's going to be a cult player for a long time.
Hincapie. Well, it wouldn't be an Arsenal podcast if we couldn't laugh about Spurs. Now, they've got the new manager. They've got, what's he called? Igor
Tudor.
Igor Tudor is in there. And, listen, they had a tough first match. It was against Arsenal. Arsenal top of the league. So then they had a second match. Is going to have the second game manager bounce. No, they lost again. It was a great thing to celebrate. Lost 2-1 to Fulham, meaning that...
It's St Totteringham's Day.
Hey!
Or it was St Totteringham's Day yesterday.
The earliest
for those who
one
celebrate.
Ever.
Which is astonishing, really, isn't it? I saw an amazing headline after this, which I think you're both going to enjoy. It's from The Guardian. Tottenham lacking in attack, midfield, defence and brain, says Tudor after Fulham loss.
How is he already here after 2 games?
It's amazing, isn't it?
He was there after 1 game.
Yeah.
There was in his press conference before the match. I love when that's straight. I'm going to really enjoy this now. But in the press conference before the match, they said to him, they were like, oh, any sign of Kulusevski or there was another player they mentioned, Bergvall coming back, and he went, I don't know. He just looked like he had given up already.
It's strange. But go back to the end of the 21-22. Remember when we went to Spurs in that run-in? We were both battling for top 4. They beat us, dodgy penalty, whatever else. And I remember that summer, I got a Spurs mate who said to me, we are so far ahead of you mugs, it is silly. It has, since then, I know they've were European champions, whatever else, it has gone the complete opposite way. Even after winning the Europa League last season, it's bad.
It's actually hard to fathom how it's got this bad.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make any sense. It shouldn't be as bad as this. Even with the injuries, and you look at some of the players they've got in that squad, even the ones they can field. It's just like, how has it gone so wrong behind the scenes that this team is playing to such a low level? I watched Nottingham Forest at the weekend though, and they look like a team full of players who know that if they get relegated, they'll get a lovely move away and won't have to hang out with Marinakis anymore. So I think they might put the kibosh on the Spurs going down thing, but we'll see.
I want to talk a little bit about our wider transfer strategy. Now, in terms of Arsenal's strategy this summer, there's a lot more question marks than the last few years. There was one piece of news we didn't touch on last week, which was Arsenal's technical director, James Ellis, has left the club. Right now, he's played a massive role in Arsenal's data-driven approach to recruitment and retaining academy talent, and it reportedly came as a big surprise. Now Ellis has been around for a long, long time, and he was sort of overseeing the academy. He was working heavily with Mertesacker, with Arteta, with Edu, and then with Berta. But you know, him going is quite a big deal, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I wonder, looking at the circumstances of it and the timing of it, whether this is actually the beginning of Andrea Berta trying to sort of shape those around him into the structure that he wants. Because I think there's talk that he's going to have a role in the academy that will perhaps make James Ellis's role, or what it was, kind of, less wide-reaching. So possibly it's as a result of that. When you look at everything he's managed to achieve, James Ellis, you could certainly read it as a cause for concern. He developed or was a big part of the team that developed what's known as the Football Intelligence Unit at the club, increased the scouting department from 30 scouts to 170, and that's how we're signing twins from Ecuador and stuff like that. And all of these things are really, really important in modern football because, as we've seen, we really lag behind in terms of our academy, not just being something that brings players into the first team, which it's managed to be very, very, very good at, but also a lot of big clubs now, they use their academies essentially to sell players on. Players that might never actually play for the club but can still turn a profit. And I think there's something a little bit kind of unsavoury about how that feels, given that these are the lives of young people, but it is part of modern football and it is something that all top clubs are striving to do now, and it's an area where we've been lacking by all accounts. So yeah, it is. He's clearly an impressive figure and a key figure, but I think we are in a good spot at the moment in terms of our major players all being signed up to long contracts. I think the last thing that we need to improve, certainly the last visible thing, is selling players, right? And being better at that. And because everyone in the squad is tied down to a contract, I imagine we'll see some big player sales in the summer. You would hope that this will be the first year where we actually start performing as we should be in that regard.
I think it's interesting, with Mertesacker leaving at the end of the season as well, and that this all happening at the same time, it does feel like there's quite a big change going on behind the scenes. Arteta seems to be fairly confident with how it's going, and if you see like how Edu's gone and done over at Nottingham Forest, it's not like maybe we haven't really lost such a big figurehead that we thought we had, and Berta's come in and brought in the players that we wanted. Whether they've been a success or not is a different discussion. I don't know if
it feels very conventional though. I mean, from when Edu left, and then Per Mertesacker left, Vinay left before that, and all of these people were on what looks like we're heading on a train heading towards success. It's strange. I find it very strange that there's all these growing problems or potential acrimony and sort of lack of stability behind the scenes, because you'd think you'd want to see this through, and it's just weird that we keep having these departures. I don't know. Maybe I'm being naive in working it out, but it sounds like it was turning into Mikel FC. It's been a whole process over the last 5 years.
I agree with you, but I also feel like this is phase whatever, phase number 9.
Oh, we're on phase 5 until we win the league, aren't we?
Okay, right. But I feel like with Berta coming in, they brought in Berta because he can bring in the existing talent, those big signings, where before with Ellis and with Jason Ato, we were focusing on bringing in players like Ben White, players that we not bought players from the Premier League. So we're buying players from the Premier League who were young and could be moulded into Mikel's his structure. And Timber was a big part of that. They went and watched Timber so many times, and he was like the perfect technically. Then he did his ACL in his first game, but that was one of Ellis's big signings, big projects.
Yeah, and I hope that we're going to retain the ability to do that, right? Because I think you're right. We are in a position now. It's like if you're going to add a player to the first team, they have to be a really, really good for now player. Yeah. Absolutely, but you do still need to be able to identify a player from the Eredivisie who's going to be able to fit straight into a Premier League team. And that's not easy, is it? We've seen so many examples of players that can't make that step. That talent ID is is hard to get right. And if we're losing someone who's got the ability for that, that's maybe a worry. But then at the same time, he's put the structure in place that means it should still be there for us to make use of.
But that's what he said. Famous All Blacks quote that he left, sort of saying like, always leave the jersey in a better place.
Yes.
And he's definitely done that.
Oh, yeah.
And Arteta is now the last man standing of that original group that rebuilt Arsenal since 2020, which was like Edu as sporting director, Jason Ato as chief scout. And Jason Ato, who I think is now the Brighton and Hove Albion, who we play next.
Yep.
Tim Lewis as chief executive, and now James Ellis as head of recruitment. So it is a big change now.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do feel pretty confident in Berta. He's a very serious operator. The way he goes about stuff. He also there was talk that Benjamin Sesko was the player that the football intelligence unit really, really wanted, but Berta was the guy who was like, no, Gyökeres. So like, the jury will be out on whether that was the right call, probably for some years to come. Yet when they both established themselves.
There's a couple big decisions that were made last summer where the jury is out for me on Andrea Berta. I mean, Gyökeres and Sesko, we all knew. Like looking at that last time, I was like, Sesko has a higher ceiling. Gyökeres is for now. So we win the league, absolutely fine. The other one for me, Semenyo and Madueke. And now we're seeing if City do win the title this season, a lot of it will be down to Mark Gahey and Semenyo coming in and the goals he scored. And that was a decision. Similar price point, why we went for Madueke over a Semenyo.
Well, Bournemouth tied Semenyo down to a new deal really early in the summer, didn't they? But
yeah.
I would like to think we would. I mean, obviously we would have been exploring that, of course.
But he had it was like a release clause of like 60 odd million.
Yeah,
that's
which
why.
is what we paid for Madueke.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think it's a very good point. There's reports saying that we're prioritising a forward, a midfielder, and a right back. Now, I presume that's because Gabriel Jesus is going to get sold.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll get more for him than we did for Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, our record.
Think so.
You know what? I'd be surprised.
35 million.
I think the signing I've been looking at, I think Martinelli's going to go because he is on 180 grand a week. He's not signed. We've not offered him a new deal. That is where the money, hopefully to Saudi, where it could come in. I can see 2 out of Martinelli, Trossard, and Jesus going.
I wouldn't be surprised if all 3 of those went.
Yeah,
to be honest.
I wouldn't be surprised if Odegaard went.
You need that, for me, that left wing position, which I'm going to go on and on about. At the moment, there's a kid at Leipzig called Diamonde who is unbelievable, 19-year-old. Or Bradley Barcola, someone like that, or an Alvarez, someone like that. That's what I think is what you need and what Ferguson used to do. If we win the league this season, you add that bit of stardust, that magical player to a title-winning team, so you can go and win it again.
Yeah, I think it could be a real summer of flux. I think we've obviously mentioned Jesus, Martinelli, Trossard. You mentioned Odegaard there as well. There are rumblings. We don't know how realistic they are, but I suppose you entertain the idea. Ben White as well is another one where you think he might realistically want to go and play somewhere else. So that's going to be a fair amount of flux. Now, there is talk that, we still want a striker, and the name on everyone's lips is Julian Alvarez. Well, there's also talk that he wants to go to Barcelona. So, I mean, how do you guys see that one playing out? Because I think Jesus is likely to be the guy in that position who goes in. So whoever comes in his place will be alongside Gyökeres and Havertz. And I think Alvarez is absolutely the top choice there. But if we can't get him, the market is kind of, as it has been for the last couple of years, like it's really difficult to identify players where you think, okay, they're going to come in and be the guy.
For me, you bring in a forward who can play across the front three. That's why Semenyo was a big miss for me. Yeah. But Alvarez can do that. Alvarez can play off the left, he can play off the right, he can play across the front three.
Yeah. He can also play in the kind of in the midfield role as well.
In the midfield role, off of a 9 or Gyökeres or whatever else. Yeah, I feel for me, Alvarez is perfect. Prem proven, done it. He knows how the intensity of the Prem is something that you need to hit the ground running. He can do that. Everyone else is a gamble. Even this, I was just saying Diamonde and Barcola, who I love. it would be a gamble.
It is sort of like finding those players with that little bit of stardust where, like, you know, we're not talking about Ryan Cherky at Man City, which I do feel like he's one of those players. Like, as much as Semenyo has been brilliant, like, Cherky is fantastic.
Match winner.
And I worry that it's sort of a general Premier League thing where that we're going up against these low blocks so often that you do need those kind of players if it's not going to be from a set piece. That I've talked about it many times, but that Alexis Sanchez type player. And Saka is our guy, right? But you know, you say it quietly, but has he been doing it as much this season? I know he's been in and out of injuries, and I don't know. I'm saying it quietly,
well,
but
he's coming back from surgery, isn't he? And like, I don't think we've necessarily seen his best level, but I think I've seen enough from him in recent games to go, oh yeah, that's in there. That's in there.
Of course it is, and it's the combination. We need to see those consistent combinations with the players that he knows. One player that has been mentioned a lot is Anthony Gordon. He did an interview recently where he described the rumours as a load of rubbish.
Yeah.
It's a load of rubbish, which he obviously would say. But I mean, do you want to go and spend 70, 90 million on Anthony Gordon?
He will be expensive. Gordon's a funny one, and it'll be one of those ones where you have to remember it's not your own personal money.
I know.
Like I like Gordon as a player. I think he's perhaps it's a funny one. It's comparable to Martinelli in some ways in that he's scored a lot of goals in the Champions League. Not so much in the league. I think Gordon's got maybe 3 league goals. Martinelli's obviously only got 1. So I think he's got a higher ceiling than Martinelli, and I think he would be one of those players where you absolutely love him when he comes in. He works really hard, like defensively as well. I think he's got all of those attributes that we need in that position. So I do think actually he's someone who could come in and make a difference.
I think it would be a very pragmatic transfer decision. In terms of, I know what he can do. Don't get me wrong, he is lightning quick, Anthony Gordon. He is a tireless worker. He understands exactly what Mikel went. He'd be a perfect for Mikel in terms of in that system. But like I said, it's times like these you want that bit of magic. He's not that magical stardust that you add to a team. I don't feel. He scored all of his goals from this. I think most of them have come from the penalty spot. The 3 goals he scored in the league this season. He has struggled to impact games when I've watched him for Newcastle. In terms of he hasn't got the technical ability or that required level of flair to be able to go and win a game himself. That's what you want. If you want to take the pressure of Saka and get the best out of Saka, we need to alleviate that by having someone who can do what Saka does on that left-hand side. I don't know if he is of that level for me to win a game, to be a match winner.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because it will be Jamie Gittin.
I was going to say, it doesn't matter, it will be Pedro Neto.
But it is funny, isn't it, at this stage of the season in particular, we always kind of get certain players in our heads. Do you remember it was probably around this time last season where we all just convinced ourselves we were going to sign Bruno Guimaraes? Yeah. Just for no reason. Everyone was like, that'd be a good fit. And we sort of talked it into being a real rumour when I don't think it was. And like, so often,
this season, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But even that, because that link came out of nowhere, it feels like it's probably unlikely to go somewhere in the future. Because, like, how many of us would have had Noni Madueke on the bingo card last season? Like, a lot of them tend to come a little bit out of left field. So I try not to put too much stock in what the rumours are at this stage.
The last thing I'll say on this is going to be the biggest transfer window of sales we've had maybe ever, because I do feel like we're going to be losing some big players that we love, but the squad is too big. So it is going to be interesting this summer. Now, coming up after this, we're going to look ahead to Brighton. Right, lads, it's been all of about 5 minutes, so that obviously means we've got another match coming up, and that is Brighton on Wednesday, another Premier League game. This is the one we've got to do. We've got to win this one, because then we can relax and play Mansfield with the kids.
Yes.
Now, Brighton's drop-off has been pretty dramatic. They've won their last 2, but that was the first time they've had back-to-back wins since November. They'd won 1 in 13, which included our 2-1 win against them in December. They're coming up back into a little bit of form, Johnny?
Yes, they are. They're still a good team, and they make up what is a humongous Premier League middle class. Where, you know, on any day they turn up, they win. Simple as that. They've caused us a lot more trouble in our Carabao Cup tie than they did for me in the league game. But at the same time, they've got players that can hurt you, and we'll have to keep our wits about us. I look at this game as, if we win this game, and this is going to sound mad. This is one hand on the title. Let me tell you. I'll tell you why.
I feel like we have this conversation every week.
It is the penultimate, for me, in terms of a difficult game, and this is the penultimate one left other than the City game. Brighton away traditionally has been
I
difficult
thought Wolves
for us.
away would be fine.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I think psychologically though, to win
Okay, yes.
Spurs, Chelsea, Brighton, I think the players will then start to believe, because that is a gauntlet of games, and we would have got through it, and then we've got a little bit of we've got Mansfield away at the weekend. Like you say.
They've given us some really tricky games in the past, haven't they, Brighton? Consistently so, actually. They're, even when they were establishing themselves in the league, they got some kind of marquee results against us. So I think the home crowd are kind of used to that feeling, and that they've probably got a little bit of expectation that they can kind of upset us again. So it does make it a really, really tricky tie. And as you say, they've got some good players. Pascal Gross is an absolutely amazing player. They brought him back in January, so he's someone who can sort of pull strings and hurt you. You got Danny Welbeck as well, and the
10
the
goals
old,
he scored
the
from
old
the
narrative of a former player. So yeah, this is a tricky one, and it's one again where they've got to really have their heads on and really be disciplined and try and control the game as best they can. So I really hope we get to a point where that just feels like a given, but once again after the weekend it doesn't. And you're right, Johnny, this is another sort of tough test, isn't it? I do think every game is going to feel like a tough test, but I know what you're saying, especially in terms of an away trip. We don't actually have that many away games left.
No.
So getting this one wrapped up and won would be ideal. And we play, I believe, at the same time as City, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big thing as well.
And I think interestingly with Brighton, that they a lot of the fans were sort of getting on the back of Hertzler and of where Brighton was sort of going as a club, because this hasn't been their best season, where they've had some really good seasons, and then they had that season where they're in the Europa League, which was like the last season when Champions League teams could drop down, and I feel like they got the short straw. I think they'd have done better in the current iteration of the Europa League, but so their fans were getting on their back, but then they get a 2-0 win against Brentford away.
Massive.
Great result.
Yeah.
Right. And then
hard place to go, as we know.
Brentford have done well since. Well, they did. They beat Burnley, and then they've got this win against Nottingham Forest. I wonder whether they're going to have to sit back. It's going to be another one of those stodgy games. They've got Van Heck and Dunk as their two centre backs. They're going to be pretty dominant in the air. What they do love is they've got Mitoma and they've got Diego Gomez as their wingers that will try and get in behind our fullbacks. Mm-hmm. So I wonder whether Mikel. I don't wonder. It's Mikel. He's going to be quite cautious and probably not push off Timber and Hincapie up too much.
The way Chelsea have set up in the last two games we played against them, but particularly yesterday, is quite similar to how Brighton set up against us at the Emirates as well. So I feel like we were well practiced. Like you say, they're not used to playing more than one game a week at the moment, and they're traditionally inconsistent. So law of probability, if they've won two, they drew a loss. They're due a loss, sorry.
Yeah, Hertzler doesn't like Arteta as well.
No, you can tell.
Oh,
he'll want to get one over.
If I look at Hertzler and think he doesn't like me, do you know what I mean? Like, there's just something about him.
That's really funny. I get that feeling as well. I feel all right before Wednesday.
Yeah.
Like, my wife said to me, she went, you're going out on Sunday to watch the Arsenal game. I was like, that's not going out. That's what bit of that is enjoyment? Like it's like going to church. It's like I have to go, but I'm not enjoying it.
Church, but you can lose.
Church, but you can go wrong.
Satan won.
Satan got a last minute winner. For God's sake. And it actually is, for God's sake. Right, the final thing I want to talk about before we go is there's been reports last week that said Arteta has made a point of trying to make away changing rooms feel like home. And so this season, Arsenal have bought a huge Arsenal-branded speaker to the games. In the past, players have had their own speaker, like Rob Holding was the resident DJ. Do you feel like this is the final piece in the puzzle to get us to win the title?
I mean, it's got to be something weird, isn't it? I know we're bringing our own coffee cups, and that's had hilarious consequences. So I'm all on board for that.
I think as Arteta is there longer, they become less and less weird, his quirks, his tactics.
Yeah.
But this is still, if I'm honest, sounds pretty pointless. Like, what is? I'm not going to feel more at home if I see a branded speaker in the changing room. I'm not going to lie. It's not going to make me feel more at home.
The logo is on everything they're wearing. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's nice seeing it again on a speaker. It's not really going to make a difference, is it?
Okay. You can bring the speaker. Where's our dog? Where's Win?
Yeah.
I've not seen Win for a
I'm
long
worried
time.
what's happened to Win.
We need an away dog.
We need an away dog, or we just need to bring Win with us. That'll make us
A
feel
new
at
dog
home.
called just getting it over the line. It's not as catchy if you're shouting at it in a field. Getting over the line, come back here. The thing is, all the weird stuff we saw Arteta do was mainly in that series, the All or Nothing series. There's 4 years of shit we ain't seen him do.
Maybe that's it. Everyone can see just from that alone, like, God, this guy is really weird.
Yeah.
Sorry, that ran out of steam there. I feel personally, on going back to the speaker, the idea of choosing the music in a room full of footballers is terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I'd be like, so
You got to have a lot of social currency.
who wants some PJ Harvey? What do you guys like? I don't know.
I mean, I would put Les Mis on and just see how it would feel with that. Johnny, what would you put on if you had to pick a song to get the Arsenal boys motivated?
There's a geezer who started putting out the 90s soundtrack of football in the 90s. Like, I know Tony Perry. Big up Tony Perry. That gets me going. Like, if I was in a football changing room and I heard Simple Minds Alive and Kicking, going into Lightning Seas, going into Verve, like that, and he's got one for the 2000s as well. That would get me going in a.
But that's because you're old, Johnny. Right?
Yeah,
they don't remember this era.
Simple Minds in a modern dressing room. I know the song you're talking about. It's a banger. Yeah, it's from the original video promoting the Premier League, wasn't it? But yeah,
I've been playing before. I've been playing this PES 99 patch. Right? Have you heard about this?
Yeah.
So these guys have worked tirelessly to make a PES 99. It's the 98-99 season.
Yeah.
The what do they call it? The double bypass, as the Arsenal branded it, and it's but they've got all the songs. They've got all the songs on it as well, and it really takes you back. And so, to be honest, Johnny, that would get me going.
Yeah,
listening to that. This is song
like
2 by Blur.
Calafiori picks loads of FIFA bangers from the FIFA
Does
soundtrack.
he?
Yeah, he always puts them up on his Insta stories.
his Instagram stories are so funny.
Oh, mate, there was Mike Snow. I can't remember the name. Yeah, that was on like FIFA 14 or whatever. Songs like that. Songs that are related to football, and I imagine myself scoring with the R2 curlers into the far corner. And
Eat my goal.
yeah, something like that.